Emotions are still running high following a huge brawl that erupted on Tuesday near the residence of the Turkish ambassador here in Washington. 2 men have been arrested and charged with assault, but many Americans, including protesters and lawmakers on Capitol Hill alike, demand answers from Ankara as President Erdogan's security detail was clearly involved. RT's Alexei Yarashevsky has the latest details.
On Tuesday, May 16th, Sheridan Circle in Washington, D.C. became the scene of an unprecedented diplomatic brawl when the security detail of President Erdogan of Turkey clashed with pro-Kurdish protesters outside the residence of the Turkish ambassador in Washington, and the D.C. police jumped in. So massive the fistfight was that at times it was hard to tell who was beating who. And as a result of the skirmish, 9 people were hospitalized, one of them reportedly sustaining serious injuries. The Turkish embassy issued a statement laying the blame on the protesters, who it believes incited the violent clashes, also saying they were affiliated with the Kurdish PKK group, deemed terrorist organization by both the United States and Turkey. The statement also said that Turkish Americans who gathered to greet President Erdogan had to defend themselves, and that all the injuries occurred as a result of unpermitted and provocative demonstration. Activist Lacey McCauley would beg to differ. She claims she was roughed up by the Turkish security guards several hours after that brawl.
The Turkish security, they ran for me, and then they grabbed my arms, they pushed me, they pulled me around, they took my sign and destroyed my sign, and then someone broke up the fight. And DCMPD pushed me across the street. I was doing nothing but standing there with a message. This is absolutely unacceptable that this happens. It is legal for us to protest, and it's a right to protest.
On top of that, in a bizarre twist, investigators working on the case now have told the New York Times that they were paying particular attention to 2 members of the Turkish security detail who may have assaulted U.S. diplomatic security officers assigned to protect Erdogan's delegation. President Erdogan's car pulled over on this driveway at the side entrance to the residence of the Turkish ambassador. He casually observed a massive brawl happening just a few feet away from him. And protesters claim that the command to attack the protesters came from Erdogan himself. Professional sound engineer analyzed one of the videos for Daily Caller and says someone shouts "Dalın diyor" to Erdogan's security. He says attack. As clashes gone calmer, the Turkish ambassador was also caught on camera, screaming at a DC police officer, "You cannot touch us." And in fact, the biggest challenge those investigating the incident are now facing is whether diplomatic protections would apply to those involved. When an incident as scandalous as on this Tuesday happens, there's always a talk of a diplomatic immunity. And in this case, the Turkish side says it had every right to defend the Turkish property. But the problem is that even according to international laws, the sidewalks around any Turkish building is a U.S. soil. So this fact alone has infuriated not only the protesters, but some on the Capitol Hill who are asking a lot of tough questions to the Turkish ambassador in Washington, D.C. Alexei Yarashevsky, RT, reporting from Washington, D.C.